all of those herbs, every plant, has a purpose. And so even the little thyme or cilantro or peppercorn, all of those different things already have medicinal benefits, and it's already helping your body in different ways, but it's all about you finding out what they're actually doing and how they do it, and to be able to use them effectively. The other reason why I say this is because those are going to be the most accessible to us.
This is the Homesteading for Beginners podcast, and I'm Mona Weathers, your host. If you desire to start and maintain a healthy homestead that aligns with your goals for self-sufficiency in a way that is sustainable and profitable, then you are in the right place. Be sure to like and subscribe the YouTube channel or follow on your favorite podcast player so that you don't miss an episode. Okay, today we have a special guest, and we're going to talk about herbs and herbalism. And my special guest is KhadiYah Preciado. KhadiYah is the visionary behind Yah's Apothecary, which is reshaping herbalism to align with nature's wisdom. I got that from your YouTube channel. So welcome, KhadiYah, to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get into this topic. Every interview I've done for, I don't know how many times, I've started with how we met. And this is partially because I want to show people that you can meet people everywhere, and community can be, you can have community with people across the world, So we met because I found you on YouTube, and I started watching some of your videos, and I really enjoyed how you explained things, how clear you were. And so I reached out to you, I think on Instagram, right? And said, hey, I'm going to do an interview and talk about herbalism. So that is why you're here. So thank you so much for saying yes to that. So can you just start off by telling us about your journey into herbalism and what inspired you to become an herbalist?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So first, thank you again. And I was going to ask you how you found out about, me. So you answered that for me. But I am excited to share about Herbalism 101, because I feel that there could be so many more herbalists, but there's so many people that feel like they don't know what they need. And then there's those who are, who don't even start because they're like, I can't do that. Or they think that it's just harder than it has to be. So I wanted to thank you for allowing me to share to that person that maybe wouldn't even start. And so that goes into my story, because I'm probably the least likely person. I'm still, to my family, it surprises them where I've ended up, because I grew up in Queens, New York. We didn't really have any kind of greenery or anything like that. I was always scared of bugs. I wasn't really interested in like plants and gardening. I didn't even know how to cook my own foods from scratch until I went away for college. And so that kind of just says, I did a 180. For me, when I was born at 30 weeks. And so I had a lot of health problems, jaundice and problems breathing and things like that. And I feel like my problems began from there. I had a bad relationship with my liver since the beginning. And then when I got older, I had absent periods, I had constipation. So I had all of these different things. But then when I went away to college, I now had to cook for myself. I had to do my own hair. My mom always used to style my hair. I had to do all of these things. So I kind of relearned. And so I actually went natural on my journey. And then I said, it's not just about my hair. It's about what I'm eating, what I'm doing. And so I slowly but surely started changing everything. And once I became an herbalist, I was actually able to heal those problems that I was dealing with as well. So that's how it started for me. I didn't really know until I was in it, but it was a slow progression based on something that I needed and something that was inside of me that I didn't even know about.
Yeah, that seems to be the story of a lot of people. Like first, usually starts with a health problem, and then they find the answer naturally. And I love hearing stories like that, because I've had similar things, although I'm very new to herbalism. So this is one reason why I have you on the show, because I want to learn. Something that I don't think my listeners may know or not. I don't know if they do, but a lot of my interviews are because I want to learn the topic. And I figure if I want to learn the topic, someone else wants to learn the topic. So,
right.
Yeah. So that was really great for you to share that story. Why would you say people should learn how to use herbs and the herbalism? Why should we learn this skill?
Right. And that's a Really funny question, because years ago we wouldn't have asked that. It would have been normal. But now it's
Mm.
people ask, do herbs work? Why should I learn about herbs when I could just go pick up, some elderberry gummies or something like that at the store? Why should I do all these different things? And it's just because for a lot of us, even with homestead and different things like that, you want to have, even though one person can't do everything, you want to have some sense of security. So you want to have food security as well, and herbs are in that same aspect, but then also about your health as well. If you could have a better quality of life, if you could have foods that are going to give you more nutrients and different things like that, and if you didn't have to run to the store every single time someone was sick or whatever, or you didn't have to totally like outsource your health to someone else who may be busy, who may care, who may not care, and you just a toss up anytime that you go to them, or like me, to not have answers and them not really caring to investigate or find that out. Instead, you can choose to be empowered and take it upon yourself, because we only have one body and it's our responsibility. So it's just about taking back some of that responsibility. And no one is going to be able to understand your body better than you.
Yeah, I love how you say that. It's our responsibility to know ourselves and our bodies, and how, to be an advocate for ourselves. And,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. Hi there. I wanted to make sure that you know about a company called Azure Standard. Azure Standard is a family owned online grocery store that specializes in selling organic, non GMO, and natural foods, as well as health and household products, delivered directly to customers through a free, independent food supply chain. Essentially, it's a platform to buy bulk, high quality organic groceries without the need for a physical store visit. Azure reduces waste and saves you money by connecting directly with the independent growers and food producers, shortening the cycle and handling of your food. You have access to organic, fresh vegetables and dry bulk foods, grass fed dairy and frozen meats, raw honey and non GMO oils, packaged foods, nutritional supplements, and beauty products. So here's how it works. You'll create an account using the link that's in the description. I do get benefit from that. It's not more cost to you to use my link, but I do appreciate it if you use my link. Then you join a delivery drop location. Then you place your order, and then you meet the truck driver at the time and location that they give you, and then you take home your food. So it's really a great system, and you meet people as well as homesteaders. This is a great place to meet other homesteaders. Our family has been ordering from this company for a number of years, and we just love it. So I highly recommend you check it out. Remember to use the link in the description. That is my affiliate link, and I appreciate the support. So how would one get started? How would one, what is the path? Share with us the path to start learning more about herbs and herbalism.
You're asking all the best questions. So thank you for that. But there's a lot of different ways to do anything. But I actually have a method that I share for people, because I feel like it's the most natural way that one would actually learn, especially like as I talked about or mentioned, many of our forefathers did. And it's by, I say, start in the kitchen. So if you are already cooking, you already know what some of your favorite spices are. All of those herbs, every plant, has a purpose. And so even the little thyme or cilantro or peppercorn, all of those different things already have medicinal benefits. And it's already helping your body in different ways, but it's all about you finding out what they're actually doing and how they do it, and to be able to use them effectively. The other reason why I say this is because those are going to be the most accessible to us. A lot of times you can go to a Walmart, or you can go to a Home Depot, or any kind of department store. I'm not advertising for anyone, but you can go there and you can actually get those starter plants. So you can actually touch them. You don't have to just have the jars as well. And that can also help you to be able to make your first medicines. Then whenever you go to someone's house, so this is what I do. For a lot of times people are asking me things. They're not herbalists. They don't have different herbs in their kitchens or whatever. Sometimes it may be someone calling and they live like in New York, like where I'm from. And so the easiest thing to do is to tell them something that they already have in their kitchen. Like most people have the standard spices. So just to be able to have help for all levels of people, all levels of income, I like to start in the kitchen first.
I love that. That is actually where I coach people on starting their homesteading journey. It starts in the kitchen because you can learn how to, cook from scratch. You can learn how to, uh, do different things, makes different salves, and you can learn so much just from starting in your kitchen. So I love that answer. So what would you say would be like spices and herbs that you would want to have readily available if you were a beginner?
Yeah. So I guess it can depend also on what type of things you want to make. But I would say the standard herbs or spices that you probably already have. So garlic and onion can be used for a lot of different things. For garlic, you typically see that in maybe like a fire cider. And you can even just have garlic infused in honey, and that can be wonderful as well. For onion, I make a thyme onion honey. I use thyme and ginger. I have very simple recipes. So like I have a ginger decongest tea that has ginger and thyme. So it's different things that, that you're probably already very familiar with. And basil, another one. All of those are really powerful. Cayenne pepper is another one. So you can start with whatever you have. You may have to get maybe a few more ingredients for things, but I think the standard herbs like that I mentioned, most people probably have that. And then you just need other ingredients like maybe some vinegar to make some extracts with. And you can just have different oils that you can infuse oils with those very same herbs as well. And the next step, I'll just go ahead and give it after you, I'd say master the kitchen or really utilize those. Then you just go to your garden. You can forage all the different weeds that we call and refer to them, but those are some of the best plants. And so just from that alone, you really don't have to spend any money, but you can have a really nice apothecary that can take care of a variety of different things. And most of the things that we encounter can be just from utilizing those plants that can be taken care of.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask that question about foraging because I do know that there's all sorts of things out there. Plantain is pretty much everywhere,
Uh-huh.
and that's one that I've harvested on my land. But is there a way? Is there a good resource or anything for people looking to identify those things on their own property that would be used for medicinal purposes?
Right. So probably the best option would be to get a field guide, but sometimes it can be a little bit hard because they may use words to explain the plants that a beginner might not know. So you want to just make sure you get one that's going to have like tons of pictures and get as specific as possible. So like you want to get one if you're in like I'm in Tennessee, so you want to find like not even just you can look at just southern the USA plants, or you can look at like southeast, like what I was looking at. So you can just really get as broad. And if you're lucky, some places they have just a field guide on that area, just that state as well. The other thing is there's a lot of different apps. And I would say you might start there and then check cross-reference with your field guide. But, it's not going to be 100% accurate. So, yeah, those are just two options as well. But I think that you should start in the backyard first before you try to do hikes or trails or things like that, because the ones in the backyard, usually they don't have a lot of lookalikes. A lot of them are very identifiable. You see them all the time as well. So like the plantain, there's not really, once it flowers, there's not really a lot of plants that really look like it. And then there's certain tests that you can do to make sure you have the right plant as well. But I think that doing that, they're the most approachable, like dandelion. Everyone has probably seen and been familiar with dandelions. And so many other plants are like that as well.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. We're neighbors. I'm in North Georgia, so we're state neighbors. So we're not that far from each other. Yeah, I've used the app called Plant This, and it's pretty accurate. But like you said, especially if you're going to use it for something like on your body or ingest it, you want to cross-reference that with something more, that has more detail so that you can make sure you're using the right things. But that's great. So, okay. So,
I was going to
okay,
name one more resource that I just thought about, if you don't mind. Sergey Vatenko. He actually has a YouTube channel, but his book is just about identifying plants. He has really good pictures, and it also has some recipes in there as well. So that's another resource that I'd really recommend for a beginner.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. I'll check that out. Thank you. Okay. So what are some common misconceptions about herbalism that you'd like to debunk or clarify that people just, they don't understand? maybe help us to understand what herbalism really is.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, I would say, misconceptions. I'll start first with, I talked about like beginners, where beginners feel like they have to have a certification in order to be an herbalist, which there actually is no certifying body, because herbalism is actually not accepted as a healing practice. So that's something that a lot of people don't know. You don't need, and I always say that you don't need a lot of money. Like I just talked about, you can just use the kitchen herbs and your backyard herbs as well. That's free and free. If you do use the backyard herbs, though, just make sure you haven't sprayed in the last 3 years. I do want to point that out. So I say you don't need any formal education as well. Like there's nothing special that you need to have. Some other myths I would say is that because the herbs are natural, that all of them are safe. There are different varying levels of safety. I actually have a method with that too. So I say there's 4 levels of safety. So we have our kitchen herbs, our culinary herbs. Those are usually the food grade herbs. So they're usually the safest. And then we have our specific remedies. Those will be a lot of the ones that you might find maybe in the forest or something like that. And then we have our low dose herbs. So some herbs that you need to use a lower dose of, or you need to use it less frequently. So you only use it for a certain amount of weeks or so. And then there's some that is best if you are a beginner or not as advanced to use external use only. And there are some that are recommended to only use on the skin as well. So yeah, just because it's natural doesn't necessarily mean safe. Another thing is people think more is more, or sometimes less is more. So a lot of times they're just like, oh, I heard about this is immune boosting. This is immune boosting. So they just start layering on everything and they're thinking that it's making it stronger. And that's not always the case. And sometimes it can do more harm than good. I mean, I can go more and more on this. I'll just give one more. Another thing is you'll hear a lot of times people talk about holistic. And I always say that holistic is a very cliche term, because a lot of people say that, but they don't practice holistically. And so I explain that it's not just like, let's say you have an emotional problem and then you take an herb for the emotional aspect. So they say mind, body, and spirit approach. And so they just think, I'll take something, this for my body, this for my, this for my mind, this for my spirit. And that makes me holistic. Whereas and they always say, talking about getting to the root cause, where there's a lot of investigation that has to happen. So it's not just that I have the symptom, but why, what caused it? So like if someone has high blood pressure, it could be due to decades of poor eating habits. Or it could be maybe they're very stressed, they're going through a divorce, that they just lost their job, or different things like that. And so they're seeing high blood pressure due to stress. And so there's so many different reasons or causes for things. So you can't just assign herbs like, okay, this is for immune boosting, but how does it work? So we have to always say not to ask what, but like what herb is for this, or what herb is anti-inflammatory or immune boosting. I don't know why I can't pronounce immune right now. But it's about knowing how and why. How does it do what it does? And why does it do what it does? Why do people see this change? What is it actually doing? So you have to really dig deeper. So not even just the root cause of the illness, but getting to the root of the herb and how it actually does what it does as well.
That's so interesting. So I don't want to start with a ailment, but maybe you want to pick one. But how would you approach if somebody came to you and they say, I've been having this problem? What is the process you go through to try to identify what it is that's going on with them?
Right. So whenever I do anything, it's always custom to the person. So I actually have a form that you fill out that gives me all of your information. And I always explain, just like, even though we're herbalists and we might not, might not have certifications or anything like that, we still should be very diligent in our craft. And we still have to study not only just herbs, we have to learn about the body, we have to do the anatomy, we have to do the physiology, we have to do all of those things as well. If you want to work with people, you want to get to that level at least. And so people just, a lot of times they want the quick and easy answer, but just like you go to a doctor and there's a process of gathering information before he gives a recommendation or a prescription. That's the same thing. I need a bunch of information before I do give a recommendation. So I ask all types of questions, some that might seem that it's not relevant. Sometimes people, or most times people have a lot of different things going on, but they maybe only care about one thing. And so I try to make sure that I address all those different things as well. And then I ask them clarifying questions too, So just like I talked about, is there any new life changes going on? You know, when did this start? Sometimes people will have certain things that only happen seasonally. So based on that information can let me know as they're talking about different things. I'm like, it just brings like, I say that each herb is like, there's a certain person that they're really for. And so it's just like envisioning like that person. And as they're explaining it, it just becomes more clear about what the choice might be. So I guess to answer your question a little bit more, or to give a more concrete example of this, just like I talked about immune boosting. Make sure I said it slow that time. But so like if someone is, so let's say you have a cold or flu, right? So it's not just about immune boosting. I don't know why I keep doing that to myself. But each person has different symptoms with cold and flu. So some people might have a dry cough. Some people might have a really dry throat. And then some have a wet cough, or they have a congestion. So we might ask, you know, what the specific circumstances are. So let's say if it's a dry cough, right? And then we'll say, who is it for? You know, is it for you? Is it for your child? That might determine a certain herb. So if a person has, like I said, a dry throat and their child, maybe we might look at something like marshmallow and a wild cherry bark as well. If they also have, additionally with that dry cough, maybe they also have a lot of coughing. So like with my daughter, she usually has dry coughs. And once she coughs that first time, it's like it doesn't want to stop. And so we might also use a wild cherry bark as well. So I guess that's how it determines.
Okay.
But if maybe you were an adult, maybe I might choose something different for you. Or maybe if you're pregnant, now I might just use the marshmallow again, as opposed to something else. So yeah, it just, we basically, the more that we learn, we're like, okay, maybe not that one, not quite. And we just kind of, I always say start big and then go small. So a lot of times when people are saying, what can I use? They go to that, like a list of immune boosting herbs or whatever. But I say start big and then just narrowing off based on the more you know to get to that, that best herb that's suited for the person, or the best formula for that person.
Okay. So in what form are these herbs usually? Like you said tinctures and you said oils. Is it different for each herb? Like, can you speak to that as well?
Yeah, really good question again. So there's a lot of different types of the medicine. So there's still capsules, there's powders, there's teas and tinctures and extracts, and there's oil, you know, even essential oils. So there's salves, there's a lot of different choices. So it depends on, you know, that's why I like to get a lot of information, because maybe I need to know about the person's lifestyle. I like to know about people's preferences. So like if a person they're like, I can't take anything that's bitter at all. Like, you know, I can't do anything that doesn't taste like sweet or like what I'm used to. So maybe you might do a tincture of the different herbs and put it in or water, or they don't have enough time. They're like, I don't want to make teas. I don't like teas. Then you might do a tincture as well. Or sometimes once you're more skilled, you might work with someone who has really poor health, and maybe they're not even able to take things internally. Like some people have been with tubes in their mouth and they're not able to take different things. So that's when you might lean more on the body as well. So you might look at different salves or ointments or oils or different things like that, essential oils as well. So it just based on your preference, what you like. But I would say different things like the herb infused honeys as well, different things like oxymels, fire ciders, teas. Those are usually where people start because they taste really good. A lot of times, different recipes that you'll have. And a lot of people are already used to maybe taking a coffee or tea. So it's just an easy transition.
You mentioned essential oils. I'm big into essential oils. I love essential oils. But what people don't realize about oils and topical things is that your skin does actually absorb a lot of stuff and can be used well. Can you talk about that as well? Like the skin as a source of, I guess, consuming?
Yes, it is. So the skin, the largest organ, right? So things do get into the skin, and that could be a good thing, and that can also be a bad thing. And then with essential oils, we do have our dilution. So a lot of times people just want to put things directly on the skin. And I know there's some oils that they say that you can do that, where they're neat, where you can just put it on. But I always just dilute. But there's different ratios or different percentages of dilutions that you want to do as well. So if you're using for therapeutic use, you might use a bigger dosage, especially for people who have tried a lot of different things and they didn't really see results. But that's something that you do gradually. The other thing I was going to say is in some cultures, so in a lot of cultures in more like ancient African herbalism, they do utilize a lot more of the outside of the skin. I mean, or the outside of the body, the external of the skin. So in ways where we might think to take things like a tea or tincture, they might just make a paste and put it on you and different things like that. So it is very healing, but I think that we're so used to our medicine, like, right, you know, our modern medicine, pharmaceuticals, we're so used to just popping a pill, and we kind of think we associate that with medicine. So we don't often associate using essential oils and you know, things like that on our skin as therapeutic, but it is.
Yeah, totally. That's good. So you mentioned earlier, what was it? You mentioned earlier about modern medicine, and I was just wondering, like, have you now? I mean, have we come yet to a place where modern medicine is more accepting of herbalism and things like that? Or, you know, I know they can complement each other, but have you seen that it's happening yet?
A little, I would say a little. And the reason why I say a little is because just my personal experiences, and it can be different. I think that a lot of times people don't like to hear it, but I do think sometimes being a woman can affect different things, but also being Black as well. So being a Black woman, I think that a lot of times the doctors that I interact with are white, a lot of times white males. And so they don't like when you're asking questions or when you're saying, I don't want to do it that way. Sometimes I've noticed a lot of times they don't like when you ask questions or challenge. Whereas with herbalists, we typically love and invite your questions, and we want to support you in that way. I definitely think that I've seen a bigger uptick, but I would say more of the uptick is from some of the vocal voices that you see like on YouTube. After the pandemic, a lot of I see nurses and doctors have come out and said that they did not like the way things were handled, and they're starting, you know, to question also. And I don't want to get too much into that because I don't want to have any debate about that. Because that's not what we're talking about right now. But yeah, I do think I see a shift. I think it's slow. I would love for it to be quicker, but there definitely can be in tandem. There's a lot of different things that herbs can do that pharmaceuticals can't do. And where I think modern medicine really shines is for things like first aid, for surgery, things like that, where the herbs are just not going to be as sufficient, right? So I think a lot of times in those situations, it is something that's very useful and powerful. So I would love to see more of integration. And I think the patient actually wants that. They want as many choices as possible. They don't just want to hear surgery all the time. They don't just want to hear, oh, take this other pill. Or sometimes people they'll take a pill and then it's not working. So then they just say, okay, take another. We'll just, give you twice as much. Sometimes people do want another option, but they don't even know that it's possible. And I think that's kind of how modern medicine kind of felt like it needed to make herbalism seem like it's less viable as an option. That's why you can't get certified, to make people think that way, because they wanted to make it monetized. So, yeah. So I said a lot, but hopefully that was a cohesive thought.
Yeah, I was tracking with you. And I do agree that after the pandemic, things did open up. More naturopathic doctors are starting to come forward and speak out, because they want this marriage between natural and, modern. They want this marriage. Right. And I think we can keep, if we just keep working at it, it'll hopefully, but I get what you're saying about the money part, but we won't get into that.
you have to make money, right? That's what their thought is. Because for me, whenever someone comes and I give them a custom blend, what I do is I give them their actual formula. And a lot of people, even herbalists, would be like, why would you do that? But it's because I want to give you the option. If you want to explore more about these herbs, and if you want to actually make it yourself, like, you don't have to come to me for the rest of your life. And then if something happens to me, you don't even know what your formula is. And so now you're like back at square one. So I try to instill, when we're learning, to not try to teach from a way where people are dependent, but a way that they can take all your different methods, all of the things that you're saying, and apply it to themselves.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I had a naturopathic doctor on the podcast a couple of episodes ago, and she calls it self-sufficient health, like to be
Mm-hmm.
able to take care of yourself,
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that thought process. Do you have any, like, I don't know, maybe this is not a great question to ask because I know everyone's going to have different needs. So this might be a
Mm-hmm.
non-herbalist, the greatest herbalist question to ask, but do you have like any favorite remedies that you would just like and remedies, is that okay to use the word remedies?
Yeah.
Do you have like any favorites that you like to use for just basic health, like let's say immune boosting? I feel different now that I'm saying it after hearing what the way you described it.
No, and I always say whenever I'm doing my classes, I let people know like there's no stupid, dumb, whatever word you want to use questions. And I get asked this question all the time. So it's obviously, one that people are thinking of when they're beginners. So if people are watching this, that's the question that they probably want to ask. So it's a really good one. But I always say that it changes depending on, it could change seasonally or depending on what's going on right now. So I would say there are herbs that I use all the time, that no matter what. So I do use nettle all the time. It's a really like mild tasting tea that has so many different nutritional benefits, and I use it in so many different ways. So I have a nourishing nettle mel, as I call it. So it's an oxymel made with nettle. I use it in teas as well, and I use it in a lot of different blends. I use it in cold infusions, or like sun teas, and then I also use it on the traditional tea, or what we call infusion, where you put it over hot water. And so I do use that in a lot of ways. You can also use it, and I use it in a seasoning blend that I make called all-purpose seasoning blend. And so there's a lot of different ways that I use it. Raspberry leaf is another one that I use all the time. Ginger I use all the time, and I guess it's more of the herbs that I say are like the more food herbs. So you don't, and with herbal medicine, we don't just use it when we're sick. So we use it, all the time. Every day is what I call it. And I have a book called Everyday Herbs. So everyday herbs, that's what we should be doing. So those are some that I use often all the time. And then I have the other ones that I rotate in depending on what's going on at the moment.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's good. And I have not gotten into nettle. I know about it. It hurts when you touch it. I need to get more into that. Okay, so now let's shift to somebody who actually wants to become an herbalist. I don't think
Right.
that's what I want. I just want it for my own self, for my family, and maybe to help my neighbors and friends and family. But if someone wants to become an herbalist, what is the best route? You said there's not really a certification, but what route do they go in for that?
Right. So I actually challenge you, even though you said that you don't think that that's what you want to do. There's different types of herbalists. So there's some that are more family herbalists. So they take care of their family, immediate family with herbs, and using herbal remedies, like you said, maybe first or in place of pharmaceuticals. There's also the community herbalist. Like you said, you want to help people in your community. So yeah, it definitely sounds like you want to be an herbalist, but you might not want to do it, clinically, or a clinical herbalist where you actually are working with clients on a daily basis. But there's different paths, as I talked about earlier. So you can do the self-study route, and that's what I did. And there's a lot of great things about that because you're learning and experimenting, and that's always what I encourage. So you can just also utilize books and different videos and different things like that. Or you can actually take different courses. Like I have courses as well that will give you more of a step-by-step and give you hopefully they have some type of, methods or different things like that that can help you. So pretty much what you want to do is you want to get to your goal usually as quick as possible with as much information as possible as well, and knowledge, expertise. And then also you want to make sure you avoid a lot of different mistakes. And so that's really where having like a mentor or someone like that can be beneficial. But you definitely don't have to do that. And you definitely don't have to wait until you have books or anything like that. I really want to make that clear as well. It's something that you can start today. You can take some of the kitchen herbs, just take one of them, decide that you want to go study more about it, do some research and use it in different ways. Use it maybe in a smaller dose this time, and then maybe use more in your cooking. Maybe have it in a tea by itself. and inspect or do some introspection about, how does it make your body feel and what sensations you're feeling. Does it really work for you to do whatever it is that you read? So it's definitely something you can start today. You don't have to have anything else other than just your curiosity and something to start.
Yeah, you brought up something interesting too, where you said take it. I mean, just now you brought it up, but take it and introspect and feel your, figure out what it's making your body do. And I honestly think that's like the biggest thing that we've lost as a culture, is being able to tell what our bodies are saying, and where our ancestors did that all the time. Like, so I love that you shared that. What are some ways that someone can like identify what it is that the body is doing? Like, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people are eating a standard American diet that makes them bloaty and feeling sick all the time. And if you stop doing that, you'll feel better already. There's already going to be that. But I think we've kind of lost the ability to go, I can actually tell when my body is in need of this or not, not needing this. I don't know. Do you have anything to say about that? Like how to help people figure that out, like what their body is telling them?
Actually, part of what you said is what I was actually thinking. A lot of the problem comes with us living such busy lives. And so we don't even take time to process even just our emotions. So we can't even just process what our body is saying, other than just hearing even or thinking about all the different things that we have to do. And so eating slower as well. That's one good thing that I can say that I was doing all the time, or before I realized that it was so powerful or that it was a thing, was I would always just really listen to my body, and I would stop. Even if some people would be like, you got 1 or 2 more bites on your plate, just finish it. And I'd say, I never ate till I was full. I just ate till my body, was satisfied. And so that's just even one thing, eating slowly so that you can catch when you're satisfied, when your body is satisfied, without always eating to, full. And like you said, bloated, different things like that. And it also, like you said, you won't even know until you do try to eat maybe healthier. So maybe you decide to, instead of like doing a meatless night. So a lot of times people will see, they might feel better. Or maybe trading in maybe a heavier meal. And now before you go to sleep, maybe you want to have a salad or something like that. And just noticing how you feel. It's really just about being really observant. And I would say, I just am trained to do that because I've been doing it for so long. And I don't want to gross anybody out or anything like that. But, when you go to the bathroom, do you look at your stool to see, that can let you know how healthy, how healthy the foods you've been eating are, the shape of it and all the different things. And I would say I'm even more so observant because I realized, like, after I ate asparagus, that my urine smelled different. And so I went and I looked it up, and surely enough, there's certain people with a gene where you can smell a different smell when you eat like asparagus and some other different foods. And so you really want to be so much so like that, where you're always observing your body, being just really intimate with yourself. When you're looking in the mirror, really take a chance to look at yourself. That's how you'll be able to, like, if you got a new mole or something, was I always like that? By looking and just being just slow, taking it all in. And really it really is just listening to your body. And I always say, because some people will be like, that maybe feel like my body isn't really talking or speaking to me. And I say, the body does always speak, but sometimes it might start by, let's say, sometimes it may be, okay, writing a letter. Okay, they didn't get that. Maybe I'll text this time. This is how the body will work. Or then the next time they're like, okay, knocking at your door to get you to listen. So your body talks to you in a lot of different ways. And it's like, okay, that didn't work. Okay. So, she was constipated or whatever, but she's still not paying me any mind. Let me do this so I can kind of, let you know, you need to stop eating this. I don't like when you give me this. And so it's a corny little analogy, but it really is that way, where the body is not going to stop talking to you. It's talking to you all the time. It's not going to stop. It may change the way that it speaks to you. And sometimes what happens is, for a lot of people, they don't listen until it's something big. but your body has been telling you for a
Mm,
long time, you really shouldn't
mm,
be eating, I don't know, maybe that gluten. It does, I
yeah.
don't agree with that gluten, or, it's telling you different things, or you really shouldn't be, you really
Hmm.
should give me some more water. But sometimes people don't listen until they got kidney stones or something. So their body's talking, but sometimes you only
Mm.
choose to listen when it's the loudest. So it might start talking to you gently, then it might start raising its voice, and so that's the way I like to explain it, because people can kind of see that the different methods of communication, the different symptoms that you have, is usually how long it takes you to pick up on it.
Yeah, I love that analogy, actually. I don't think that's corny at all. I like how how the body will speak to you subtly and then it'll get really, really loud. And you don't want it to get really, really loud. So learn how
Yeah.
to, I guess the message here is learn how to listen to your body. But I think I'm the same way as you, where I naturally just eat and, I don't usually stuff myself. I stop. Or sometimes I'll skip meals because I feel like I don't need a meal, or I'll eat a heavy carb meal and be like, I don't really feel like carbs right now. Like, I listen. Also, I have heard this, like certain things like sugar, when we crave sugar, we're really
Mm.
craving fat. And so people really need just like the healthy fat. They might think they're getting fat in their fatty food, but what they really need is like a really good fat, not sugar. But anyway, that's yeah.
That's
That's
really
really great.
good.
I
Can I
really enjoyed
actually
that.
elaborate on that
Mhm.
for you?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so it's so good that you said that example. That's one of the tenements of African herbalism, where is when your body has a craving, that it actually lets you know about like a certain organ or your body that is needing something and has an imbalance somewhere. And so, like you said, so in that instance, you said you heard that it's because you're craving fats. Well, we would say in African herbalism that it has to do with your stomach, right? And so we find that the foods that are typically, and I don't want to get too complicated, that are typically going to be beneficial for your stomach tend to be things that are more moistening. And they have different starches and different things like that. Is really, really the right way to address the imbalance or address the craving. But we might go for the sweets, or like you said, what other kind of
Mhm.
fats or greasy foods or whatever. And so we actually make the problem worse. But our body was, again, that's another way that the body talks to us, through our cravings. Just like with
Mhm.
if you ever heard of pica, where you might want to eat dirt or you might want to eat
Mhm.
chalk. And it's not that you really want to eat those things, it's because you're deficient. And so it's that same way
Mhm.
with, you have certain cravings that are the body telling you a certain thing, but you have two different choices of how you can address it. And a lot of times we address it the wrong way. So, we could go for we could go for fruits or something like that. Like you said, we can go for the avocado, but we don't.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, this is great. I really enjoyed this conversation. I learned a lot. You mentioned earlier you had courses and stuff. Can you talk about that as well for those that want to learn?
Yeah, so I feel like I really dedicated my journey to really helping people, and the thing that I want to do the most is help to avoid all the different I would say missteps. So that I feel like it's a little bit gentler than saying mistakes, and answering the common
Mhm.
questions. And so that's what I really strive to do. I want to point people to my books, because that's like the more beginner friendly thing, and like the first step for a lot of people, or the most logical step for a lot of people. So I've actually written 11 different books. I have journals and different things
Oh,
like that
wow.
to help you on your herbal journey. So I would recommend, if anything, my book Everyday Herbs, because it talks about the kitchen spices, the backyard herbs, and I use them in multiple recipes, because I found
Mm.
that a lot of books you had to get herbs, specialty herbs, to use them one time, and that's not what I wanted people to do. So
Mm.
I wanted to give people recipes too that weren't just like fancy recipes or whatever that you try one time, or you do on a special occasion, but you can do it on a special occasion, but then you want to do it, every day as well. So that's where Everyday Herbs came from. But then I do have courses I have a kitchen herbalist course, which is, again, kind of like helping people who want to be more of a family herbalist and community herbalist, making how to make the different herbal medicines. So it gives you videos to go along with the book of instructing you how to make all the different things, and then teaching you also about the herbs and some of my methods as well. And then I have other courses that are more advanced for those who actually want to be practicing herbalists as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. I think I need to get that Everyday Herbs book. That sounds great. And so where can people find you? Where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, so the best place to find me is on my website at yahsapothecary.com. So that's YAHS, apothecary, just like the Yah in my name. And then also you can find me on YouTube. That's also a popular place where people find me. And you can find me with my name, or you can actually do at Her Healthy Home. That used to be my channel name once long time ago, and you can still find me there. I'm also on Instagram. Don't really love Instagram as much, but I do put some content out as well. But that's the best place to find me, on my website.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'll leave all those links in the show notes as well. So thank you so much for coming. I just really enjoyed this conversation.
Oh, thank you for having me. And all your questions, I really feel like are really going to help beginner herbalists really get their footing. So I'm really happy with the lineup of questions. And I really feel like I got to share a lot of great stuff. So thank you for being such a gracious host to me.
Well, thank you.